Eli Tzion ve'oreo.
So, two people meet each other in the airplane. They've known each other years before, and they sit in the very, very regular economy class, not first class, regular, these sardine cans. And one of them tells the others, "What are you doing here? You? I thought you had a private jet plane. You're a billionaire. Sorry for the question. At least super first class." He said, "No, I lost all my money. Maybe you didn't hear, but I lost all my money. And it was horrible. It was an unbelievable crash. Crushed me. And here I am. I used to own millions and now nothing. But what about you? Look who's talking. I thought you had 3 private jets. Well, what's the story? What are you doing in this sardine can, regular economy class?" So he said, "Yeah, my story is different to yours. I have millions in the bank. I'm ashamed to say, but I got into real trouble with whoever, IRA, the taxes, the government, and I have millions in the bank, but they're all locked up. They're all frozen. The government froze my money. I have all the millions, I have the treasures, but I have no access to my own wealth." So we all know the words of the Navi Zechariah, Perek Tes, Posuk Yutes. The Navi says that all the tzomim, all the Yemei Tzom, all the days of fast will turn into Yomim Tovim. Tzom Arvi, Chamishi, Tzom Ashvi, Tzom Asir, Yel Beis Yehuda, L'Sosoin, U'L'Simcha, L'Madim Tovim. Wow, we all know that in future, Be'ezus Hashem, those very sad days will become happy days, good days. V'Emes V'Sholom Ahivu. Fine, this is very inspiring, and we always hope for a good future. But there's much, much more than that. There's a much deeper story over here, and this is a beautiful idea which I heard from a Hasidic Mashpia, Rabbi Frank, a few weeks ago in an event for parents. Rabbi Frank said the following: we all know the episode in the Egel HaZohov, Arna Cohen, Egel HaZohov. What does it look like when we reach Nai Mikro? We feel for Aaron so much pressure. He's the greatest leader. Moshe Rabbeinu is not there. Aaron is there. Everybody is trying to, Chalila, in his darga, drive him crazy, putting unbelievable pressure on him. They would have killed him. They killed Chur. And what's he telling them? What's Aaron's response? Chag LaHashem Mochor. Tomorrow there will be a Chag. So we think, when we read the Parsha, and we may be right, by Poshet Pshat, that Aaron is just buying time. Chag LaHashem Mochor. Guys, tomorrow things will be better, and he hoped, beyond hope, that Moshe will return. Unfortunately, Moshe did not return on time, by their cheshbon, and the Chag became the most horrific day, Yud Zayin B'Tammuz. But imagine what would have been if they wouldn't have done Egel HaZohov, if they wouldn't have crafted and worshipped Egel HaZohov. Let's say Moshe Rabbeinu would have come, or they would have done Teshuvah, and really Moshe Rabbeinu would have come with the Luchos. There'll be the day of actually receiving the one and only Luchos. And, as opposed to the story before, nobody would have broken the Luchos. Says Aaron Cohen, I'm not buying time. No, Chag LaHashem Mochor. Tomorrow there will be a great Yom Tov. Tomorrow will be a great celebration. Moshe Rabbeinu will come with a Luchos in hand. We're going to have an amazing Yom Tov. Because Yud Zayin B'Tammuz originally, before we messed up big time, before that was supposed to be a real Yom Tov. And when Hashem plans something, that plan stays forever. Which means that Yud Zayin B'Tammuz, potentially, in a hidden way, is a Yom Tov today too. It's hidden because we have messed up and we don't activate that dormant Yom Tov. Money in the account, but it's unreachable. My own little 2 cents is Tisha B'Av. Came to mind, what would have been if the Meraglim came back from Eretz Yisrael and with young and fresh spirit would come and tell everybody, wow, what an amazing land. You don't know Eretz Israel. Wow, beautiful. They would have continued the good report that they started with, right? It's all good, beautiful, amazing, big fruit. So many high-tech companies, so many opportunities, tourism all over, Masada, wherever. You can go skydiving, so much going on in this Eretz Israel. Let's go, yay, have some summer camp feel, but a real one. Wouldn't that be a Yom Tov? I'm not the one to decide when Yom Tov should be, when Yom Tov should not be. Yeah, I don't know who does, only HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I think. But basically, there would have been, l'choira, some kind of Yom Tov, the day in which they came back from Eretz Yisrael, and then within a few days, as it says before in the Chumash, within a few days, it would have gotten in, right? So Yud Zayin B'Tammuz and Tisha B'Av are Yomim Tovim in potential, and as the Rav was saying, and we all know, we did not say Tachanun this morning for a reason, Kor Olai Moed, because Tisha B'Av is a Yom Tov, and everybody says it will be a Yom Tov. Of course it will be a Yom Tov. That's what the Novi says, meaning the idea that it was meant to be Yom Tov and will be Yom Tov means that it's also a Yom Tov now. Judaism doesn't change. We're not reform over here. The idea is that right now, the money is there. It's in the bank, but it's unreachable. Back to our story. Which person do you think, out of the two Gvirim who kind of lost their money, which one is more frustrated on a day-to-day basis? Which one is more nervous and trying to change but not managing? Of course, the second guy. The first guy, if he's smart enough and emotionally mature enough, at some point realizes, I was rich 20 years ago. I have nice photos and videos to remember the good old days. Now let's go to work and clock in the work from 9 to 5 and somehow support my family. Fine. Yandik, let's not cry over spilt milk. Mashenkin, the second guy, no. This is not, not Gzera Alamed Shishtakach Min Halev. This is something that's happening now. I have the money. I'm trying, not managing. I'm living like a pauper. I'm living like a very average guy. When I have the money and I can't reach it, that's our tsar in the 3 weeks. We are really mitzvah in something that is happening now. This is the answer to people who ask you why you're crying over something that happened over close to 2,000 years ago. It's such a banal question and there's so many answers. I'm sure each person in the room has like 3 different answers, and I know. But I think that's a fresh approach. It's not about, Shalom Nivna B'Yomov, we're still. It's more. We have the Yom Tov in our hands and we can't celebrate it. That is the Moyed that is not being celebrated because of that barrier between us and the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Which brings us to the next point. Really, pretty soon, after Chodesh Av, comes which month? Elul, very good. Av, Elul Ba. We have Elul, and there's a lot of parallel points. There's an equivalent between the 3 weeks and the Yomim Tovim of Tishrei. We have a day and another day, 2 very holy, important days. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the 10 days in between of when everything intensifies, gets stronger and stronger. We have Elul before. Here we have Yud Zayin B'Tammuz, we have Tisha B'Av, and we have the days in between. It gets stronger and stronger towards Tisha B'Av. The 2 Taanis that are most important, halachically, clearly, besides Yom Kippur, Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av Yom Kippur, that's kind of like the climax. This is the time, for ultimate teshuvah. Tisha B'Av, we have a communal day of Teshuvah. Taanis is a day of Teshuvah. Taanis, as the Rambam says, as the Gemara says, everybody says, Taanis is a time for communal Teshuvah. We have to see what's wrong with us as a nation. And this is what the 3 weeks are about. Everybody talks about Sinas Chinam. That's true. There's also Bittul Torah, Gimel Veres Chamuros, not respecting Talmidei Chachamim. There's a lot of issues we have to deal with as a tzibur, and we deal with that during the 3 weeks. And that leads us into where? It's very easy to say that we have to do teshuvah and we have to do sinas chinam to overcome sinas chinam, and sometimes we think about other people who have to deal with their sinas chinam. And then comes the next stage of introspection, of teshuvah on a personal level, and that's done during the Aseret Mitzvot, during the Chagim of Tishrei. So if we have the comparison, if so, by comparing Tisha B'Av to Yom Kippur, comparing Tisha B'Av to Yom Kippur, I live in a community in Gibraltar. Everybody knows about my connection to Gibraltar. I want to tell you one thing. They do Tisha B'Av so well. I'm not joking. They do Tisha B'Av. They have the minhagim there from, I think, from Spain, from hundreds of years ago. They do it so moving, and so they cry so much, and they're so unbelievably gets into your heart that I think I was there for years. I used to live there and visit. I used to visit Dafka and Tisha B'Av for technical reasons. I used to be there around that time of year. And I almost said celebrated, yeah, slip of tongue. I experienced Tisha B'Av in Gibraltar, and the feeling towards the end of Tisha B'Av was close to Yom Kippur. Not as intense, but was me'ein Yom Kippur. It felt the same, and other people said the same, if you only know how to do it. So basically, if we are now Tisha B'Av in the afternoon, so maybe we'll try to get a little bit of the feeling of Yom Kippur in the afternoon, and see how we can do teshuvah. Not talking about practical ideas, but talking about concepts of teshuvah that have to do with Taanis. So the Rambam says, what do you do in the day of Taanis? The Taanis the Rambam talks about in the fourth parak of Ilchas Tanios. He doesn't necessarily talk about Tisha B'Av in Zayin B'Tammuz. He talks about Taanesim. Everybody who learns Masechtas Taanis knows the Taanesim that used to establish when there was no rain. Yeah, again, gets more, the Taanesim, if there's no rain, they would declare a Taanis based in, and they would do certain things every time, base, stronger and stronger and more intense. What would you do in the afternoon of such a Taanis? They'll bring a speaker, ideally a Talmid Chacham, if not Talmid Chacham, then somebody lower. Anybody that can do the job would try and inspire the people. And what would that person tell the congregation at the day of the Taanis to inspire them to do teshuvah and get to real change? He says like this: Achenu, our brothers, brethren, lo sak v'lo Taanis gomin. The sackcloth and the Taanis, the fast, they're not gomin. They don't cause it. That's not what does it to him. It's not about just the sack and the Taanis. They used to wear sack, mamish, and of course they used to fast. We also fast. Yeah, but that's not all about that. Ela tshuva ma'asim tovim. Yeah, it's teshuva ma'asim tovim. Tshuva, doing the right thing and coming back to Hashem. It's all about that. Sheken, and what does it compare it to? The Chacham, the text is supposed to tell everybody in the Taanis, and this is also in the afternoon. When did that happen? Beninveh. The historic example of that we derive how to do tshuva from is Ninveh. Interesting, the Goyim of Ninveh. Why? Says that Talmid Chacham, or whoever is supposed to speak to the public, it's true that they fasted, even children, even animals, for 3 days. It was very, very intense fasting, It says in Machshava, the Bei Goyim, everything is very intense. The Goy cannot bring Shlomim. If a Goy brings a Korban, it's automatically becoming an oilo. It's like the Goyim, either you can't marry, you be like a Porush, or you live like a behemoth. It's very hard for most people to keep the healthy balance of, bringing spirituality into the Gashmis. But that's not for now. That's another story. But the Ninveh, we learn from them. It says, Vayar Elokim, doesn't say Vayar Elokim Esakim and Taanisam. They did everything right. But it doesn't say that Hashem watched their sack and their fast. Vayar Elokim is Ma'aseyan. Hashem saw what they did, meaning they really, internally, they changed, they tried to be different people, and that's why Hashem forgave them. You want to tear your clothes? Tearing your clothes is not the main thing. You have to tear your heart in the Taanis. Wow. Apparently, eventually, the speaker has to be very inspiring and very intense and very good until really Machnia causes their heart to surrender, to be submissive, to accept the spiritual message. And the Rambam ends with the words, V'yashuva teshuva gemura. Teshuva gemura. The Rambam doesn't, use extra words. Not just teshuva gemura. The teshuva has to be real and total, and this is ideally the level we should be in the Taanis. Hard to reach, but this should be where we're holding. So, interesting, 2 questions. What is teshuva gemura? Okay, that's a big question. And secondly, why does he compare it to Ninveh? Why does he compare Dafka to Ninveh? I mean, the Novi says, that Hashem saw their Taanis. Why are they the paradigm? Why are they the epitome of the correct way to do teshuvah. So, interestingly, the Gaon of Vilna says a fascinating idea, which I came across when I was researching for a different topic. He says that the word teshuvah is Rosh Tevis. Teshuvah is Rosh Tevis. Taf, Shin, Vav, Beis, Hey. Yeah, count them on. Very good. And the Gaon says it about Anshe Ninveh. The idea is brought down actually in the Shlo. I saw it in the Shlo, who lived way before the Gro, who quotes the Arizal way before the Shlo. So it's a very old Kabbalistic idea. How to do the perfect teshuvah. Teshuvah consists of 5 different components. Taf, Shin, Vav, Beis, Hey. What is Rosh Tevis? So Taf is Taanis, you have to fast. Shin is sack, Shin, sin, sack, beged, sack clothes, yeah, sack. Ve'efer, sack ve'efer come together, so the Vav is not an excuse. Sack ve'efer are together, sack ve'efer. Efer is the ash. You used to put ash on the head of the Sefer Torah. On the Sefer Torah in the times of Taanis, to put ash on the Sefer Torah itself to make everybody cry that in a way we are kivyochol showing not disrespect but show sorrow on the side of the Torah, that the Torah has afer, ash on the Torah, and then they would put afer on the head of the biggest Talmud Chacham of the Rav, and then everybody else. So Taanis, sak, the efer, base, bechi, crying, bechi, crying, yeah. Hesped, and Hesped, eulogizing Hesped, to be maspid, to talk about what we're missing and why we have to fast. I'd like to suggest that these 5 parts of Teshuvah, let's repeat, yeah, Taanis, yeah, we're not eating, sak, you wear sack clothes, efer, put some ash on your head, pe'er tachas efer, you know, tefillin or pe'er, why didn't we put on tefillin this morning? It says in halacha, because you don't put on tefillin because you're supposed to have afer. The fact that none of you wore tefillin this morning, as far as I know, I didn't watch. Yeah, you didn't have tefillin because that is like demonstrating we don't have the crown. We don't deserve today the crown of tefillin. Yeah, because efer tachas l'sumla evlei tzion pe'er tachas afer. But as long as we are veiling, we have the afer, we have the ashes instead of the tefillin. Like they do, some communities do this to the chosan under the chuppah, the chulei, and then you have Taanis, sak, ve'efer, bechi, crying, real crying with tears, and hesped, talking and explaining and really mourning verbally what's going on. I think these 5 things can be somehow connected to the 5 parts of the human neshama. Every neshama has 5 parts, and every person has 5 components, so to speak, to his being, to who he is, to his psyche, and these 5 parts, each and every one of them has to somehow be affected by teshuvah. Start with the Taanis. That's what we do now, and that's what we feel the strongest. I don't know, you guys are feeling, but you know, I'm over too long without my coffee. Taanis. So I'm sure you'll do great. Very good. Taanis. So Taanis is in the stomach. Taanis is in the most base desire. You're not eating the beten, the boich. You want to eat. Animals also want to eat. So the most important, in a way, physically important way to, as my father Lov Shalom used to say, keep body and soul together. Before we'd go to eat, my father would say, let's keep body and soul together. So basically, the Shir Nishmas, my father, Menachem and Akiva, like all my other shiurim, basically, you need to feed yourself, and that part of the neshama that's connected to the stomach is called the nefesh behemis. It's connected to the liver, to the basic needs, and that's where we have to do tshuva, for sure. Yeah, so many sins are done because we behave like animals. In a way, human beings share certain qualities with animals. You know, the Goyish cultures, they loved it. The Goyim, they all love to say, we're just a different type of mammals. You know, that's how they live, and that's how they justify their animalistic behavior. What's the difference, a monkey, and we're really an alligator, and all this shit. Not the time to laugh on Tisha B'Av, but that's unfortunately the kind of messages that we are, yeah. So we have to do tshuva and realize, no, I'm not an animal, and my Taanis, my fasting, I can hold myself, I fast, and I'm different in that level, the level of nefesh. Let's go up one level, sak. Sak is what you wear. except for some, I don't know, dogs that you used to see in North Tel Aviv in a rich area or in places of Chutz La'aretz, most animals don't get dressed. Dogs and cats have, it's a fashion nowadays, but normally in nature, animals don't get dressed, not with sack and not with whatever, Gucci or Dior. They don't get dressed. So this is already something a bit higher. The sack physically, when you wear something, normally wear it over your shoulders. We're talking about a higher part of the body, more to do with a lave, right? So why do you get dressed even when it's hot, if you're a frum person? Yeah, you get dressed when it's hot because you have some kind of self-respect, and also the way you dress also show who you are. You wear, hat, jacket, different types of clothes. You wear, jeans and shorts, whatever. What you dress shows in a way who you are. So the levush has to do with how you feel about yourself, your personality. It's not necessarily something very seicheldik, it's not necessarily something very academic, but it's something more in your personality, something beyond the animalistic, and physically it's more around the heart. What is the lave? The lave is the place where you have the ruach. There are 5 parts of the neshama. I assume people know, and maybe you do know. I'll just repeat. There's nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, and yechida. Nefesh is the lowest one, is the basic nefesh. Ruach is a place where ruach is where you feel things. Ruach is the heart. Ruach is your yetzer, yetzer hor, yetzer toiv. And the ruach is like a wind. Direction, the heart takes you different directions. The heart says the right and the left parts. So that is to do possibly with a sack, meaning my feelings, my personality, the way I define myself, and even very low people who are not spiritual, they also have some kind of self-definition. That my self-definition as a Jew has to be thought about. I have to fix myself also in my identity, my feelings. What's the next stage? Teshuvah. We have Taanis, Sak, the Efer. Efer is the ashes that are put over the head. What is the head? Says the Gemara in Shabbos, Amechalef Amud Aleph. The head is the king of the organs. The king of the body is the head. There's a halacha related to that, but we're not supposed to learn halacha today. Especially this halacha has to do with washing, and we're not washing today. But the head is the first. The head is what represents the seichel. And the seichel is what ideally should lead the Jewish person. The melech of the Ivarim, that's the lashon of the Gemara, moilech ala Ivarim. The head is the one who reigns over the other parts of the body, ideally, not the heart. I saw somebody saying the heart is the king of the Ivarim. I don't know, sounds like a frum person, but a lot of unauthorized stuff going on there in the shiurim online. So the king of the Ivarim, from what the Gemara says, is the head, because the head is the Mishkan HaNeshama. Whenever we put on tefillin, like this afternoon, we say HaNeshama shebemoichi. The third part of the human neshama is the neshama. Neshama is in the brains. It's the highest part of the neshama that is somehow alleged to the body. This is the seichel, the thoughts, where you think, your ashkafa, your machshava, the real decisions that hopefully are made with your seichel, and the neshama, which is the third highest part of the neshama connected to your body. For sure, this needs to have a whole teshuva process, a rerun, restart the system. We have so many bad ashkafas we don't even realize. I loved what the Rav said, not that the Rav needs my ashkafas. He said, people sometimes who argue with Gedol Yisrael. Recently, I don't know if you know, no politics, but a certain person argued with Gedol Yisrael, Shem Shmo. So basically, a secular person. So I'm saying, the Gedol Yisrael, their minds are 100% Torah. Our minds are, at best, 30, 40, 50% Torah. The rest, we have so many hashpahs, so many other influences in our seichel, and sometimes our heart is the one who decides, not the mind. So all this needs teshuvah. We need everything to be done in the right place. So put Efer on your head to show, this is also the Sefer Torah is the one that has the Efer. We put Efer in the Sefer Torah. Sefer Torah is the seichel. Sefer Torah is all seichelic information. It's not emotional babel, chas v'shalom. It's all seichel. The seichel needs also teshuvah to put Efer to show, look, what's going on here. We need a change. Up until now, though, we're stopping now, a small break, a hiatus, between those 3 parts and the rest, and the remaining 2. Up until now, we spoke about what? Fasting, wearing sackcloth, and putting ashes, Efer, on our head. We're about to now face the other 2, to continue into crying and hesped and talking. To say it in a very crass way, not very crass, in a rather vulgar way, a person may be fasting, wearing sackcloth and apron in his head. Technically speaking, he can still be looking at his smartphone and enjoying funny jokes. In other words, of course, the idea is to get to your heart. So far, we only spoke about exterior things that we hope will get somewhere. But as we all know, you can be in a fast day and, chas v'sholom, I don't know, watch TV, watch a comedy, lo aleinu, I don't know, listen to Goyish songs. I'm saying these things do happen, yeah? That's, I have what to say about Haredi, that's for later. Anyway, I censored something here because I don't want to be Mekatr in Klal Yisrael. Now comes the next stage. Which is deeper, Bechi. What is Bechi? It's all brought down by actually some of the Achronim of today. There are many reasons why people cry. Of course, the Gemara in Shabbos says there are good tears and bad tears. But generally speaking, and actually I saw this in the Sforim by Rabbi Akiva Teichtal and some Sfardim Mashpim, Choshevatim L'Chachamim, usually when you cry bitterly is because of a loss, a disconnection. Of course, people cry for different reasons, for joy and this and that and pain and because he took my dolly. But normally, when people really cry, there is something was severed, something was taken away, disconnected in a way that will probably never come back. When a child loses a young mother loses her child. So many tragedies we had, October 7th and so many others. All these tragedies, the tears flow when a person realizes, I lost the connection. And this is something to cry about, because my body, my heart, and my brains were not always in the right place, that takes me to a higher level of consciousness, of the awareness that my connection was not really there. I lost the contact with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Had I been better with my Torah, with my mitzvahs, with my commitment, I'd feel closer to Hashem. I'd be more connected, and I'm not. I can rebuild the connection. I can obviously tie the loose ends and the knot. I can, and I should, but right now, I'm crying over what's lost. Speaking about the neshama, nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, the chaya is the part that connects between us and the Kadosh Baruch Hu. The chaya is between the head and Shemaim. And the chaya is your connection to Hashem. So that works very, very well. Because the chaya is the part that is being some kind of, the Wi-Fi is not working right. Yeah, because the Wi-Fi worked maybe too well when it shouldn't have. So now your Wi-Fi with the Kadosh Baruch Hu is not exactly there. And this is something to cry about. And you can't fake real crying, real tears. He also says bechia, not bechi. Bechia is the action of crying. What is the last one? Hesped. Hesped is when you verbalize the tears. Go to Levaya. I was at the Levaya a few years ago. Still, to a certain extent, my son is still traumatized. My son's classmate, a rather good friend of him, died suddenly. A child he was 9, 2 years ago. It was horrible. It was the worst Levaya I've ever been to. Like a family has been through a lot of difficulties. And a precious, amazing, beautiful child just died. Within 24 hours, some kind of rare, germ or something attacked him and he died. And the Levaya was something to remember in a very sad way. And in a way, a lot of chizuk and real trauma. And there was crying and there's a spadim. It's two different things. When people cry, you don't always know they're crying. Let's say a passerby, somebody passing by, a bypasser would come, you would see a lot of people crying. He wouldn't see the body. He wouldn't know who died. A child, an adult, they don't know. People just crying hysterically. People were crying like crazy. I also cried. But when the Hespedim begin, then you understand why you're crying. When the Hesped comes and the father could barely talk, and he eulogized his son, and he said, my little precious boy, then even those who didn't know what's going on, now they knew. Crying is very strong. It's still emotional. Hesped is more seicheldik. Hesped is more, something that's to do with the brains. Hesped is when you talk and you verbalize and you explain to yourself in the highest form. Speech is the highest form of the human being. No animal can talk. Forget about parrots. No animals can really produce intelligent, good, chiddushdik words like a human being. Ruach memalala. As the famous Chofetz Chaim says, the way to differentiate between a human being and an animal is word, speech. So in a way, the highest form is speaking. Crying is strong, but it's still emotional. It's more connected again to the heart. Back to what we said before. The highest part is the hesped, because then we really are telling and explaining ourselves what's going on over here. We have a whole mahalch here, let's have the CEO meeting and decide and say, brainstorming what has to change. And that possibly is connected to Yechida, because Yechida is already connected, is the Kadosh Baruch Hu himself. Kadosh Baruch Hu himself is the highest form. I don't know exactly how that works with the Dibur, but we know Dibur is something that comes from very high, so possibly it's connected. So, just to finish off with the words of Reb Tzvi Hirsch V'Deslavsky, I sent this an email form to my mother. She said the part she likes the most is what I'm about to say now. He says like this: Omnam, hine teshuva. He quotes what the Goin says and the Arizal already. Taanis sak ve'efer b'chi v'hesped. Kol elu hem dvorim asher odom mitztar b'asoisom. Yeah, you have tsar. That's obviously the common denominator in the simple form. I'm not happy fasting. Happy I'm doing Rotz and Hashem, but it's a tsar. Yeah, it's unpleasant to fast, unpleasant to wear sackcloth. I never tried. I don't think it's nice to wear sackcloth straight on your skin. Efer, bechi, v'chule, and all that. These are not nice things. You're not happy to eulogize v'chule. Aval hine, yesh refu achas ktana u'metzeres me'at me'at. There's a magic formula. Yeah, you can cheat the system. That's what he says. I don't know if the Gon would agree with him. The Gon is very Litvish, but that's what the Hasidic Rabbi Tzvi Hirsch V'Deslavsky says. He says there is you can cheat the system and go through the back door. You know what you can do? A way that causes less tsar, and that is what? Rak yavir al midoisov. If a person will maver al midoisov, a person will forgive. He speaks extensively. I will not go into details. He speaks extensively about if somebody is malbin ponim, somebody shames you in public, lo you put him to shame publicly, and you don't answer, and you moichel to the person in your heart. So if a person is willing to be in the supernatural level of being maver al midoisav, forgive any wrongdoing, even public shaming, that is something that can play the game instead of the 5 things. But of course, practically speaking, we all fast. We should all try and prepare for the Yomim Noroim a little bit. I know Ben Azmanim, we have some break. We have to prepare for the Yomim Noroim and try and correct our neshama, each one, the way we can, on all 5 levels. And we will be zoiche to Mashiach very, very soon. Thank you.
כמו אישה